to get into the spirit of things, Mrs. Sumner and Ms. Mills have decided they would help us out, and they have each worked on their own inquiry, and they're here to give you some presentations of what they've learned. And so basically all we want you to do is just pay attention and see what you notice, and we will discuss it when they're finished with their presentation. Okay? And so Ms. Mills, are you first?
Yes.
All right, welcome.
Well, I have not really. My mom totally forgot to fill this up with water. Can I have some water? Because my mom didn't do my project. I mean, I told her and she didn't do it. Mother. So my event is tornadoes. Okay, we know tornadoes. I saw a movie. What was it called? There was a twister. A cow was flying in a tornado. So that's where a lot of my information came from, was from the movie. And so they sent these things up in the tornado, and that's how we can tell when tornadoes are coming. You know what I'm talking about, right? I also looked up on Wikipedia tornadoes, or called twisters, cyclones, things like that. So here's my thing to help me. Geography and climate, they happen everywhere but Antarctica. Social, there wasn't any information there, so I don't have anything for that. Economic, I mean, I don't know, other than the movie, like they destroy things so it costs money. But there was no information on economics, so I don't know what it is. Political, I mean, there's water spouts and there's land spouts here.
Ready? You're on.
So, tornadoes is what my thing is about. I went to Wikipedia and I saw a movie, Twister. Twister helped me learn about tornadoes. So here's my page that I did. Geography and climate. The tornadoes happen everywhere except Antarctica. Doesn't happen in Antarctica. So like in Twister, you saw the flying cow. I guess you wouldn't see flying penguins. Social, there wasn't any information there, so I just wrote that down so Ms. Barker would know it wasn't there. I didn't talk about social. Economic, I don't really know. I know, like they can be really expensive because they destroy like everything. So I don't know anything about economics. Political, they have water spouts and they have land spouts. From the movie Twister, they happened in Oklahoma, so I know they happen here. And they sent up these things in the Twister, so now we know when Twisters are coming, something like that. Personal action, that wasn't on Wikipedia. I just kind of know from being a kid you hide, in your bathroom. Don't go outside and stand on the porch with a camcorder like most Oklahomans do. You hide. That's what I do. Although that's what my dad did, so in my family you look for the twister and then you hide after you see it. But that wasn't on Wikipedia, so I don't know. My source was Wikipedia, and I just entered tornado. So there's some pictures of different tornadoes, and since you can't really see them, and my mom didn't have a color printer, and I didn't want to color, I drew one for you. So that's what Twister looks like. I'm not done. So my mom said this would work. I don't really know because my mom did it. But something about a 2-liter bottle and water, I don't get it.
Turn it upside down and shake it.
Yeah.
I don't know what my mom was thinking, but there's my visual. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
Here's mine.
Yes. Yes.
Is that really how you're supposed to shake
mom told me about it.
It wasn't shaped like this.
Anybody else have any questions?
What is the thingy that they use to find the tornado called?
I don't know. It wasn't on Wikipedia. Yes.
Do you have any other sources besides the movie and Wikipedia?
Well, I mean, I've lived in Oklahoma for 33 years, so my life experience. But no, Wikipedia, I mean, has everything. It gave me 12 pages of information. Yes.
Who's the movie by?
I don't know. I just saw one.
Did you use the movie Sharknado too?
Yeah, there's no sharks in Oklahoma. I can't hear your question. Yeah.
Did you read all 12 pages on the Wikipedia at that?
Dude, do you know how much work was on that? Look at how small that print is. Did I read all 12 pages? No. I looked at the pictures. Yes.
You know any athletes that work in the movie?
No, I didn't. I only saw the movie one time. I didn't watch it for this. I just remember it.
If your mom's listening, is it what she wants to work?
I don't know. I mean, I brought it. Anyone else? Yes.
Have you heard of any recent tornadoes?
Well, last year there was a tornado in Moore.
Do you know what the ranks are of the tornadoes?
Wikipedia didn't say that. Maybe it was on page 11. I only read the first couple.
You've been out in Oklahoma for 33 years. Why are you in school?
Well, Ethan, it's because I let my mom do my project. And I haven't quite graduated 6th grade yet. Okay, only 2 more questions.
You know, Twister was filmed.
Dude, I saw it when I was a kid. I don't know.
I thought
Do you have
I gave it the best I could do.
Is Wikipedia a reliable place?
Well, it's on the internet. Yes.
What colors of cow getting twisted by the twister?
He was black and white. Okay, are there any other questions? Let me stop. No more questions about the movie. Are there any other questions about my research? I guess. I'm sorry?
Do you have a print source?
What's that? Who reads books? It's on the internet. I use my phone. Okay. So if there's no other real questions. Okay, what's the question?
How long did it take you to write that?
Ask me after, when the teachers aren't around. Okay, how long did I spend on it? Real question. It took me like 2 minutes to type in tornado. It took me another 30 seconds to print all 12 pages. I read the captions of all of the bold letters and the pictures, so that was like another 5. And then, maybe 15 minutes? What else do you need to know about tornadoes? So yeah, I probably spent 15 minutes on it.
Well, I'm very excited that so many of you chose my presentation today to come see. Like I said in my initial piece that I sent to you, I hope you got to see it earlier today. I wanted to be able to come today and share with you my interest in tornadoes. I've always been fascinated by tornadoes, and throughout my inquiry notebook, if you were to look at it, you would see that I have multiple references and multiple questions about tornadoes. So when it came time to choose an inquiry project, it was very easy for me to do one on tornadoes because it was very easy for me to pick out something that I was passionate about when I scanned through my inquiry notebook. It took several attempts for me to really come up with a great inquiry question. And so you can see here in the middle of my science board that my question that I decided to investigate: how might meteorological phenomenon be tamed to prevent devastating harm to communities? And that's really been my focus over the last several weeks as I've done my research and put together my presentation. But I thought many of you probably would see my little piece in the brochure, and you might want to come to my presentation just because tornadoes are very interesting. But I thought some of you may not have a lot of background knowledge on tornadoes yet. So I want to spend just a few minutes giving you just a little bit of information on tornadoes. As you might know, swirling cloud level winds, that's what is the precursor, or what happens before a tornado actually occurs. There's instability in the atmosphere and wind shear that produce the actual storm cloud, and some people call them thunderstorm clouds, that actually lead to what we know as tornadoes. So an important thing to consider when thinking about tornadoes, or more importantly, how we might prevent them from happening, is to think about the key ingredients that cause tornadoes to happen in the first place. Because if a solution could be found for breaking up these key ingredients, then once we break up those ingredients, we can keep the storm from happening in the first place. Because as we know, once the tornado is there, there's really not a lot we can do about it. That's when the early warning detection has to come into play. So my focus of my inquiry is really about, can we be storm stoppers instead of storm spotters? And how might we stop a tornado before it starts? So what I'd like to talk just a little bit about are the ideas I found throughout my research. I was very interested in the work of a gentleman named Michael Kroll. And if you'd like some more information on Michael Kroll, you can sign up to be a part of my blogging group. I have a place here that we can sit and jot our emails, or maybe share out through a blog if you'd like to discuss tornadoes more after my presentation. But Michael Kroll is actually from New York, and I thought that was real interesting that someone that was studying tornadoes really wasn't in a place where tornadoes happen very frequently. But he had devised a method he thought would really work in preventing tornadoes from forming. And his theory was that if we could prevent warm, moist air from forming in the sky, it would keep tornadoes from happening. So his idea was kind of like a fire hydrant that would expand and go up with pipe, and then would spray out cool droplets of water. And if that could occur, he thought that would stop the formation of the warm, moist air, which indeed would be a key ingredient that would then break up the formation of the tornado. Now, of course, his ideas have some flaws, but again, you and I can kind of discuss that if you want to join my club later. Another idea that was presented in the research, and this was really from various book sources as well as some internet sources that I was able to find, and they just talked a lot about we measure, or we meaning meteorologists, really measure tornadoes 30 meters up in the air, where the wind speeds are very different than the wind speeds near the ground level. So another key question that I have is, could we devise an instrument that might monitor ground level wind speed? Because this researcher talked a lot about if we could measure the wind speed at the ground level, we could more likely predict when a tornado would actually form based on the wind speeds. So I thought that was another interesting idea. Also in my research, I also found scientists who thought that if we could change wind direction, we could prevent tornadoes from forming. This researcher talked about stopping the mesocyclone. And the mesocyclone is the high rotating storm that eventually touches down during a tornado. And the question under investigation there would be, how might we create some kind of airborne apparatus that would actually change the wind direction during a tornado, thus preventing it from cycling through to the tornado. Maybe something that would deflect the wind, maybe something that would prevent the rotation. But what I discovered really throughout my whole research is what I know a lot of scientists already have discovered, is that you end up with more questions than you do answers. And that's certainly what I found through my research. So for now, I want to focus my efforts on early warning systems, because for now, that's the best way to alert people and keeping from devastating harm, at least to human life. We can't, unfortunately, do much about the property damage. But right now, I think we're looking at for something that could prevent a tornado would probably be still a very lofty, futuristic idea. And like I said, I know that you came to my presentation today hoping for some more information on tornadoes. And if we have time for questions, we can certainly address those. But if you're interested in learning more about tornadoes, or maybe we could be a group of kind of tornado experts together, I printed my presentation sheet so you have my notes if you'd like to learn a little bit more about tornadoes. And also, I thought you could leave your name and email address, and maybe then we can connect and become a part of a real research group that might one day solve the problem of how might meteorological phenomena be tamed to prevent devastating harm to communities. What questions might I answer for you? Yes.
Have you heard about or done any reading about what I think Representative Bridenstine is trying to get passed in the House and Senate about early detection and trying to prevent loss of human lives? Have you read or heard anything about that?
My focus right now really has been on trying to find the answer to my real question is, would it be possible for us to find a way to prevent tornadoes from happening? But I think now that would be something I'd really like to add to my inquiry notebook, because I realize that that's still a futuristic kind of expectation, and I probably need to do something that's more realistic, which would be the early detections. Yes?
How many sources did you have?
Well, I had about 7 or 8 initially. But those 7 or 8 led to 2 or 3 others. I was real interested in the book, Tornadoes, and in the back of the book, it actually listed 4 or 5 other sources. So then I kind of went to those sources and kind of looked at those, and kind of one led to another, and then that had some internet sources, so I tried to kind of look for internet sources, reliable internet sources. So that's kind of how I started with my project. Initially I had about 6 or 8 that I thought would be really great sources, books and online sources. And then as that grew, because they had sources, it kind of helped. And then there were some interviews that I did with meteorologists and things that helped me kind of finalize things. Yes?
How long did you read?
Well, it took me probably, over time, because my inquiry notebook was all semester. And then probably 4 hours of really trying to look at all my tornado questions and really trying to decide. I knew I I was passionate about tornadoes, but I really needed to get a really good research question. So that probably took me the most time because I wanted to have a really great question that I thought people would really want to be interested in. And then my research, I would say, over the course of a couple weeks, and then I had spring break, of course, to put together my board and my presentation. Several weeks. Well, thank you very much for coming to my presentation.